Thomas needed to load the heavy logs onto flatbeds, but old Wheezy, the camp's giant log loader, wasn't much help. He liked throwing logs instead of loading them. He jiggled and joggled and spun. Logs flew here and there. One even bashed Thomas on the boiler. The logging locals cackled with laughter. Thomas needed a better way to load the Joby wood. Luckily, he spotted an old machine. That's Hee-Haw. He's the old log loading machine. He needs too much oil, that's why we don't use him. Thomas wasn't worried. They poured the last of the oil into Hee-Haw. As the old machine creaked and sputtered into action, Thomas was very pleased. Soon Thomas had 3 flatbeds full of the Joby logs, but he had no idea how to get them back to Sodor. We could use the tunnel. Thomas was amazed. You didn't tell me there was a tunnel to Sodor. That's because it's closed. Because it's dangerous. Thomas was too excited to listen. I know all about tunnels. It won't be dangerous. The engines wheezed and wheezed to the old tunnel. Dash stopped at the entrance. We locals don't have enough oil to pump to Sodor. Of course you do. It's just a whir and a whiff, and we'll be there. They all disappeared into the dark and twisted tunnel. Suddenly, there was trouble ahead. The tracks were blocked by rocks. Then, with a rumble and a crash, more rocks smashed down behind them. We can push the rocks out of the way. Bash, Dash, and Ferdinand bravely pumped their pistons, but with a gasp and a groan, they ran out of oil. They couldn't push any more. The engines were stuck in the tunnel, and no one knew they were there. Just then, Ferdinand noticed something. I feel air on my funnel. Dash spotted a hole in the roof of the tunnel. Puff forward, Thomas, and huff your hardest. Someone will see your steam. Thomas excitedly beamed from buffer to buffer and started to puff. Back at Brandon Docks, Percy saw something that made his firebox fizz. 3 puffs of steam floated high in the distance. It's Thomas! He's on Misty Island, and he needs help. Percy told Sir Topham Hatt and all the engines about Thomas. Everyone was ready to help. James, Gordon, and Edward, you will sail to Misty Island with me. Then Whiff suggested using the abandoned tunnel that led to Misty Island. It would be the fastest way to reach Thomas. Won't that be dark and dangerous? Don't worry. I know all the tracks. Meanwhile, Thomas and the logging locals were waiting in the dark tunnel. Soon, they heard a noise coming through the rocks. It was the clickety-clack of wheels on the tracks. Then Thomas recognized Percy's friendly voice. Listen, I found you, Thomas. Watch out, Thomas. Percy and I will push through the rocks to reach you. With that, Percy and Whiff rocked and rolled backwards together. Then they pumped their pistons and crashed through the rocks. Hooray for Percy! Hooray for Whiff! Thomas introduced Whiff and Percy to the logging locos. With a shove and a shunt, Whiff pulled the brave engines out of the tunnel. The logging locals wheeshed and whooshed with wonder when they saw the sunny island of Sodor. Thomas helped the logging locos to the Sodor steamworks for repairs. He knew that Kevin and Victor would make them as good as new. Sir Topham Hatt was excited to see that Thomas was safe, and that with all the Joby wood Thomas had found on Misty Island, the rescue center would be finished in no time. Finally, the big day arrived. The Sodor Search and Rescue Center and the Misty Island Tunnel were officially opened. Today is a very special day. made possible by very special engines. The people cheered and the engines peeped. Thomas, surrounded by his old and new friends, beamed with pride. The end.
Misty Island Rescue, here we go. Misty Island Rescue, here we go. With boilers all above and the engines are a-coming. Misty Island Rescue, here we go. Searching through the tunnels one by one. Searching through the tunnels one by one. Whipping Percy hunting with pistons all a-pumping. Searching through the tunnels one by one. Bash, Dash, Ferdinand, they're the logging locos, always there to lend a hand. Thomas has to make amends, so he needs his brand new friends today. Hey, helping every way. Edward, James, and Gordon on the way. Edward, James, and Gordon on the way. Steaming across the ocean, the rescue is in motion. Edward, James, and Gordon on the way. Bash, Dash, Ferdinand, they're the logging locos, always there to lend a hand. Thomas has to make amends, so he needs his brand new friends today. Hey, helping every way. Misty Island Rescue, here we go. Misty Island Rescue, here we go. With boilers on above and the engines are a-coming. Misty Island Rescue, here